I was worried about my children's futures, and there was a pretty large group of people who were also worried. We recognized that Houston was operating under a cultural story of endless sprawl that was damaging the city and degrading quality of life. And there was no organization to create a high-level, holistic view of the future. So we created Houston Tomorrow to improve the quality of life of all the people in the Houston region. Our vision is that in 2036, on Houston's 200th birthday, we will be the healthiest, happiest, most prosperous people in the nation. We know that walkable neighborhoods have lower rates of obesity and depression, so the people are healthier. And we know that cities with good public transit and green space have happier people. We also know that walkable urban places have higher innovation, which drives prosperity. So how we build our towns and cities has a tremendous impact on quality of life. Quality of life attracts and retains knowledge workers, people who could live potentially anywhere. Our objective is to bring research and analysis about best practices to the civic discussion about Houston's tomorrow. And to do that, we need your help. We align ourselves with citizen values and goals, so we know, for example, that people want to spend our transportation money in a balanced way among transit, street repair, bike and pedestrian facilities, and new roads. The civic dialogue in Houston becomes more informed every day because we bring so much information and analysis to that discussion. We're experienced at forming coalitions around issues, and we move quickly. We can rely on our regional, national, and global networks to stay on top of important developments. And Houston Tomorrow is known for being a trusted, independent voice. Houston Tomorrow is effective because we nurture important ideas. We have the trust and respect of many thought leaders as well as grassroots citizen groups. We're able to form coalitions that leverage the strength of many different organizations. We have outreach skills that let us feed information into our network through our website, weekly newsletter, free-to-the-public forums, and much more. We're nimble, and we respond quickly to address needs as they arise. We deal in concepts, so when we hear our ideas spoken by civic leaders becoming mainstream and embraced in policy, we know we're being effective. We help lead and get funding for a regional plan for sustainable development, which is now at work to affect the lives of more than 6 million people in 13 counties and 134 towns and cities. More than 8,000 people participated in that 3-year process. We helped build the Houston Coalition for Complete Streets, which now includes 34 organizations. And I'm very happy to say that City Hall has made Complete Streets the default standard in Houston. This is a huge success that lays the foundation for widespread walkable urbanism and good health. The sheer speed with which Houston is now embracing our concepts in many areas tells us we've been on the right track. Occasionally, we're misinterpreted as coming at our work from some ideological position. But actually, we're very rational and very data-driven. Also, because we do so much and have been doing it for so long, many people think we're a much larger organization than we are. Houston Tomorrow is small, but very effective and very influential. Our major accomplishment is having slowly moved the civic conversation away from a story of endless sprawl and poor health to a story that contains new options to live in walkable neighborhoods with more access to more transportation opportunities. We did that by creating coalitions, convening hundreds of events, and bringing many hundreds of speakers to contribute to a more informed civic discussion. We created Blueprint Houston to plan for the city's future, and that effort is gaining speed. We created the Houston Food Policy Work Group and Houston Access to Urban Sustainability, a low-cost housing initiative which now has 2 working co-ops in Midtown. We've created a plan to connect all of the region's major activity centers by transit that utilizes right-of-way the public already owns. But our primary accomplishment is that nearly everything we talked about a long time ago is coming to pass in Houston. Historically, we've had a tough time raising money because we're a think tank that doesn't implement physical projects. Instead, we work on changing the civic discussion with research, analysis, and dialogue that isn't always easily quantifiable. But as our ideas take hold and more of our projects become real, we think it's getting harder to underestimate our influence. We believe quality of life should be the driver for a sustainable future for Houston, and independent research and discussion provides a better understanding of how to move in that direction. More resources would enable more reliable data collection, more mapping, and more white papers to help guide the way. We could bring far more information and analysis to more citizens, policymakers, and business leaders, and we could increase the scope and quality of our public forums to discuss those ideas. We're in a campaign to improve the quality of life for all Houstonians. We've identified 3 key gaps that could exponentially increase our impact. 1, we need to build our relationships with supporters, which will provide us a constant and important source of funding, as well as create a larger baseline group of constituents who are aware of the issues. For this, we need a full-time development director. 2, we need to increase our independent research, for example, the impact of transit and walkable urbanism on property values. We need funds for a researcher to really expand our influence on planning decisions, the public, and elected officials. 3, we've worked hard the last few years to connect to the people who actually are Houston tomorrow, the millennials and other young people who will inherit whatever we leave behind. We need to do much more in that regard and want to establish what we call the Department of Tactical Urbanism, which is the street name for a variety of public activities that draw attention to possibilities for community to grow in the public realm, in the streets and parks of our city.